Hi, everyone, and welcome back to I Will Go Down with the Ship. I am Heather,
And I'm Chelsea.
and we have some really fun updates for you guys. Chelsea, why don't you jump in with some merch?
Yes. Okay. So we have stickers, you guys, and they are so stinking cute. They're adorable. Like this one with the cartoon logo of me and Heather that Tatiana Art designed for us is friggin' adorable. And by the way, there will be shirts that say ship and let ship and make it make sense coming to our shop soon. But right now we have these stickers and they're so cute. And also, I have and I will go down with this ship sticker on my iPad case now, along with some of my other sticker collection with the mysterious case of the corgi stickers that we can talk about. And then these awesome stickers from Probably Smut that I'm obsessed with. Like Morally Gray is my favorite color, which, we talk about with Cooper all the time.
All the time.
But yeah, like these adorable corgi stickers during the beginning of the pandemic, somebody sent them to me. I have no idea who it was. The only thing in the package said from your friend, but it didn't say who it was. So I have no idea who sent the corgi stickers, but they're adorable. And like, I love the unicorn one and the mermaid one.
Oh my gosh.
And then I've got my, in my cowboy era, Lauren Wheeler sticker from my Lauren Wheeler
I was like,
romance.
that's you to a T right now.
Yes. And then we've got our adorable Good Girls Read Dark Romance sticker from Probably Smut, which I'm obsessed with. Like, and my 7 Brew Mother's Day sticker. I did drive up there to get my free sticker on Mother's Day. Well, any excuse to drive to 7 Brew, let's be honest, I'm going. But I absolutely love these stickers. And like, how stinking cute is this? I love this. And like, I'm dying for people to ask me about it.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
my iPad. Like, please ask me. Please ask me.
And that will be in the link down below. But Chelsea, we have a contest starting, right?
Yes, we have some giveaways starting. We have 21 weeks worth of stickers from Probably Smut because I'm obsessed with their stickers. Understand, I am not an affiliate for them or anything. Like, I would love to be, and I would adore having an affiliate link for them. I do not yet. I'm just obsessed with their stickers and their merch because it's all really cute. And we have 21 weeks of stickers to give away to listeners of the podcast. I will have directions for you guys on that soon. I'm going to be doing it on King Sumo giveaways just because it's easier to set up. I'll set up one per week and we'll put it in the link down below. But let's just take a look at how adorable some of these stickers are. Like this one says probably reading Monster Smut.
I love that.
And then this one is books are my love language. And then we've got read more smut with a cute little bookshelf.
I love it.
They're so precious. And I love this one that says in love with my book collection. And then I've got my sexuality is monsters, which I feel like is very Ghoulsy coded, you guys. Like, you can't tell me that this isn't Ghoulsy coded. And then we've got fuck off, I'm reading, which is super fun. We also have touch her and I'll kill you, which is an energy I definitely would love to see from Ghoulsy in the future. I think that would be amazing. We've got their reading is badass sticker, which is precious and adorable. We've got a feminists read romance sticker, but generally the kind of romances I read, the feminism kind of leaves my body a little bit. We'll talk about that later.
Same.
And we've got my TBRs full of trigger warnings, which I absolutely love. Reading Queen. Oh, no, don't you fall. Get back here. Got Reading Queen.
Love it.
We've got a Colleen Hoover quote one that's she's not the kind of girl you choose your battles for. She's the kind of girl you fight to the death for.
Oh, I love that.
Then we've got All I Need is Coffee and Smut, which is like my life quote. And then we've got this adorable Smut Slut Lips sticker. Happiest when reading. And then we've got a romance reader sticker. We've got this one that's probably smut with a little book stack that is so cute. And then we've got this one, which is super interesting. It's for orc romances, and it says don't knock it until you've read it.
Oh.
This one is thirsty for vamps, which I'm all about it. And then we've got happily ever after or I'm out, which is a big thing for me. Like, you can torture your characters as much as you want to, because I'm not going to say I don't. I torture mine for sure. But like, I want that happily ever after. That's what I'm reading for, is the happily ever after. And then we have our antisocial book club sticker. And those are all the stickers we're giving away, guys.
So what I want you guys to do though, I'll link the video in the show notes. Check out Chelsea's unboxing of our stickers. And once Chelsea gets the instructions and the giveaway details, we'll definitely be posting in the show notes as well. But check it out, I'm sure on some kind of social. I think probably Twitter is where we're the most active, I would say, right?
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I spend an inordinate amount of time on Twitter. And like, I'm sorry to Elon Musk, but I'm gonna call it Twitter forever. I'm not calling it X. Like, I apologize, sir, but like, it was Twitter in my formative years when my little emo ass was growing up and like hanging out on MySpace, and then this thing first existed. So it's gonna be Twitter to me forever. And like, I apologize, but that's what's gonna come out of my mouth. So
And I feel like as romance writers, X could be talking about anything. And I just feel like Twitter is very, exactly what we're talking about. So let's do a writer update, Chelsea. How's the writing going?
tis not.
It is not going.
It is not going right now. But I took a very intentional weekend off from things and just kind of was very low key. Lake finally caught up to me for 7 months. He turned 35 yesterday.
What?
and
Happy birthday.
and he'll be caught up to me till February, and then I'll be older than him, and he'll get to pick on me for being an old lady until July, and that's our cycle forever. But we just kind of chilled out and did some very low key, no pressure hanging out at home for his birthday, which, like, honestly, I kind of feel bad about. And I'm trying to arrange like a trip to my family's beach house where we're not going down there to do work, where we're just going down there like for his birthday. But like, we can't do it this week because we also have race cars. That's another thing that we do. That's, his little brother is Randall Moy, and he races at Mobile International Speedway here. And Lake is a very integral part of the crew with that race car. So, we have practice on Thursday and then racing over the weekend and all of that kind of stuff. And so we can't really go to the beach this week. I'm hoping soon that we can go do something that's like, for his birthday, even though it'll be after. But we took a really low-key weekend to just kind of enjoy each other, and I got no writing done, and I'm refusing to beat myself up for it, because normally I would be hating on myself so hard right now. But like, there are times when I just have to take time to let my brain decompress.
Yeah, for sure. That's a lesson that I feel like it's in the energy, and I don't know if it's the full moon, because I was feeling a lot of that over the weekend and even like Thursday, Friday leading up to it, where because for me it was more of like, sometimes I write in multiple projects, and sometimes I'm just like, why am I pushing myself to write all of these books, to release all of these books, if like the income like stays stagnant? And so I'm just kind of like, okay, so I've kind of refocused on writing what brings me joy. Obviously following through with the series that I've already, started. I want to make sure that the readers know I'm committed to not leaving anything open-ended, because I know readers who have started books or a series and the writer's like, oh, well, this isn't making me a profit, so I'm just gonna pivot and go over here. And I get both sides to that, but like for me in particular, like it's really important that I finish stuff, even if it takes me a little bit longer.
I've got to go back and finish my Bayshore Witch Legacy series, but I took a big step back from that because when I started writing it, I was very concerned with people's opinions of me. Had someone who was close to me tell me that I'm going to go to hell for writing paranormal fiction about it, you know, that kind of stuff, and was like really very concerned with opinions. I wasn't going to be smutty with it, which was not bringing me joy, let's be honest. Like, and I also was going to keep it just in this town that's based on the town where my family's beach house is, Orange Beach. But I like it's turning into a portal fantasy kind of deal too. And like I want it to be smuttier. And like I've already rewritten the first 3 books in this series, I feel like 8 times now. And I'm at a point where I'm like, do I just take and pivot from like, because it's the prequel and the first 2 books that are out. And I'm at a point where I'm like, do I just pivot and work from this point forward with things being better and me knowing more of what I want and how I want to write, and like, you know, hope that people suffer through I don't, there are people who really enjoy those books, so I don't know that everybody would suffer through it, but like I suffer through it because it's not how I wanted it to be in my head, because I was worried about what people would think. And I'm, you know, at a point where like, do I go back and fix it again, or do I just pivot and keep moving forward? And like I know I've got to go back to that series because there are people waiting.
Yeah.
And I have 9 genuinely incredible covers for that
Oh yeah.
series. They're
Yeah.
beautiful, and like they have to get used at some point. Like it's going to be a thing.
For sure. But I do think it's important, like you said, like for me, I'm not the type to like wait for a muse. Like I sit down and I write, and that's just I look at creativity like a muscle that you have to do every day. However, there are times, and it's for me it's rare, but there are times when the best thing for me to do is take a step back from the writing and just give myself the grace of actually thinking about the characters and like fantasizing a little bit about, okay, what would they do, and not being so robotic about it, you know, like letting them kind of talk to me and developing that relationship. And I found that at least for me, I can't do that if I'm writing like 3 or 4 or 5 books at one time, like because I'm jumping from one book to another. I can't listen to what the characters are telling me or how they want to be portrayed. And so over the weekend, I was just like, and it's scary for me. It's like I'm very much a control freak to like stop writing all of this because again, it's that feeling of I'm doing the work. I'm busy, so I'm working. And so I think the biggest lesson I need to learn is like you can still make money or you can still connect with your readers. You can still do all of this and not work as hard. Like it's okay to like take this time to serve your story. And I think that that's like the most important thing is serving the story.
Yeah, and there's a big fear though of like losing that momentum and like, gosh, maybe I'll never get back to this and maybe I'll never finish this. Like
Yeah.
if you stop. But like I am dedicated to my readers. I know it might not look like it right now because the Bayshore Witch Legacy has just been sitting there forever with me being unhappy with it and like undecided on how I'm going to proceed with it. And like, you know, with Akatar being in YA, I was like, you know, I tried to place it in YA, but that doesn't feel right to me. So I need to like redo the categories. It needs to go into new adult and in college romance because that's the age where Roxy is at right now. And
Well,
there's
you know why Akatar is in young adult, right?
is because the new adult and college romance didn't exist when Akatar came out, right?
It did. I think that was like right around the time Colleen Hoover took off, but it didn't blow up for the paranormal, like the Fae kind of stuff, I think, because Sarah J. Maas, I can't remember if she had the idea or if if Bloomsbury was like, you should write this specific for this audience. And when Bloomsbury's like, no, this isn't, this genre isn't working well trad, because new adult doesn't, for traditionally published authors, it does not do well for some odd reason, or at least they don't think it does well. And that's why they stuck it in young adult. Because if you continue the series, it gets so smutty. And it's like,
Nesta and Cass's book is my favorite. Like A Court of Silver Flames is my favorite one in the whole series. And like I know a lot of people have issues with Nesta, but I personally enjoyed her once we got into that book. Like I had issues with Nesta before I got to like read her book, and I adore Cassian. I will stand him forever. I love him.
yeah.
And like I loved A Court of Silver Flames.
I think that I think I related more to Feyre, obviously, but I didn't hate Nesta's thing, like Nesta's book. Like I again um I like seeing characters like that because you definitely see a growth in Nesta. And I think that that's important because we don't see that typical, the grouch like that. It's basically reverse sunshine, I would say. Like,
Right. Yeah, it's basically a reverse Grumpy Sunshine, and Nesta's the grumpy one, and Cassian is the sunshine golden retriever boyfriend.
yeah,
Like, I fucking love Cassian so much. It's not even funny.
I loved obviously Reese, but I really like Asriel. I ship him with Gwen. I really want him and Gwen to be a thing.
I'm pulling hard for Gwenreel because Lake has gotten in my head a little bit about the whole Tamlin thing, and also
No, no,
because
no, wait, go back. What does Lake say about Tamlin, Chelsea?
like
Let's just share it.
Lake has very big opinions about the Tamlin thing, and like at, we don't necessarily agree on all points, but he did make some very good points about how like with the tithe and all these issues that Pharaoh was having with Tamlin, like instead of trying to communicate with Tamlin to fix them, and like instead of trying several times to communicate with him and really, like say, hey, this is what I need from you, this is what I think we need to change for things to work out between us, like she didn't tell him what she needed from him. Like she didn't tell him what she needed him to change, how she needed him to be different, like what behaviors she needed him to adjust for him to grow and be better. And like feels like she didn't really just like she didn't give him a chance to grow and be better, and she didn't communicate with him, and he didn't feel like that was very fair to Tamlin at all. And I was like, it was an interesting perspective for me to hear. And and I had the little argument of like, well, like Reese is her fated mate. He's just better for her. They fit better. And he's like, Reese has a cheat sheet. He can read her fucking mind. And I was like,
I'm
that
hearing that Tamlin may potentially get a redemption arc.
I really hope he does, either with Briar or Elaine.
Elaine. I want Elaine with Lucian.
Like I feel like Lucian deserves better, first of
That's
all.
true because she just will not give him the time of
She
day.
won't. And it makes me so mad. And I love Farah. Let's not make any mistakes about it, but she did Lucian fucking dirty when
Mhm.
she was taking apart the spring court and like sowing the seeds of discord, and like she implied to Tamlin that she and Lucian were fucking like, and Lucian has been nothing but your friend since you got here, and you did him dirty, Farah. I'm sorry. I have big feelings about the ways in which Feyre screwed Lucian over. And I have big feelings about the way Elaine treats Lucian, and Lake has bigger feelings about the
Yeah.
way Elaine treats Lucian. He is very upset for Lucian.
And honestly, he has a right to be. I'm very curious if and when we do get Elaine's book to see like why that is, because I don't feel like he's given her any reason unless there's stuff going on that we don't know. But
Right.
it makes me want to ask you because I think that this is such an interesting topic and I don't think it really gets discussed a lot, is do you think that there are characters, do you think all characters have the potential to get or to earn a redemption arc? Or do you think that there are some that are so far gone, there is nothing you can do to, bring them back, so to speak?
I think that it all depends on the way the author wrote the character. And like Lake had a really good point about Tamlin, and like Tamlin was doing the best he could with what he knows.
Yeah.
And Feyre didn't give him a lot of chances to correct his behavior. She didn't communicate her needs to him, except for the like wanting to go outside, but she didn't explain to him why.
Mhm.
And like, was Tamlin correct? No. And like, did he handle things the right way? No. But I don't feel like Farah handled things the right way either. And destroying his entire court for what he did was wrong. I'm sorry. Like, there were a lot more people's lives and things at stake. And Lake really felt like it came down to the way Sarah J. Maas wrote it, and like she wanted us to like Reese, and she did Tamlin dirty to make it happen because the first book was so successful. It was a complete story unto itself.
Yeah.
And then it was so successful that she, realized, hey, I can write more books in this, but there's nowhere for Tamlin and Feyre to go. And Lake felt like it was a little bit labored, and that Reese kind of, has that cheat sheet in that he can read Feyre's mind. And, there was no way that he wasn't going to win in
Mhm.
the end because he can read her mind and get inside her head. And I had not, there were a lot of points that he addressed that I had not really thought about until he challenged me about it when we listened to the audiobooks together. And I think a redemption arc for Tamlin could be a really good thing, because as badly as he fucked up and as abusive as some of his behaviors were, and they were,
Mhm.
I feel like they were coming from a place of ignorance and they were handled badly on both sides. And it would be interesting to see a redemption arc for him because I don't think he was evil.
No. And I think that that's where the line is drawn, right? Like if we look at Harry Potter, you have Snape and even Draco to a degree, and they sort of like they're very multifaceted. Like they're very complex characters where you think that they're one thing and then they do something that seems to sort of like redeem them. And then, I find it really interesting when we go into the fandom, like the Ghoulsy fandom, or not even Ghoulsy, but the Fallout fandom, and people or even House of Dragon to a degree, and you have characters like Cooper or even Daemon Targaryen, and it's like you have people who hate these characters simply based on something that's either out of character or very in character, but they're doing it for a very specific purpose. And I totally get that there are going to be people who are like, you know what, he literally tried to sell her for like hemp, like she tried to sell her organs, and so that's a hard no. No matter what he does, he cannot be redeemed for me. And you know what, okay, that's great, but then my question is, okay, where do you then draw the line? And like, so I just feel like I don't know, like that. I think that that's why me and you are pushing so hard for Cooper to just be the ghoul to just be the ghoul without. I don't want him to feel like he has to redeem himself. I think like maybe he should say, at least acknowledge that, that first initial meeting between him and Lucy might not be the best great first impression, but in his mind, it's like, well, I was doing it because I needed this to get to my family. And so I'm not going to apologize for wanting that, although I could apologize for maybe how it affected you. Like
Right.
that's what I want. That's what I want to see. But
Yep. But it's like, it's so interesting to me, like Lake's opinions and the way he challenges me, because he does challenge me and he has really interesting perspectives. And, we don't always have to agree on everything for us to have a discourse about it.
Yeah.
And, he's allowed to have his feelings about it, and I'm allowed to have mine. At the end of the day, if we still don't agree, cool, but at least we talked about it and discussed it.
Well, it's funny, and I really love that because for the most part, my husband and I are the same way. And there are times that my husband's kind of a dick and he just likes getting a reaction out of me. So he'll say things that he knows are going to piss me off. Cause like we'll talk about Justified all the time. And I feel like my husband, I love him, but he's very black and white when it comes to certain things. And so he will tell me, well, Boyd's a criminal. Look at all of the bad things he did. How can you love him? And I'm like, okay, we can look at all the bad things he's done, sure, but look at the good things that he's done too. I mean, the fact that he's Walton Goggins, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be like a little bit charmed. But I also, his favorite is Rayland. He's like, my husband is the quintessential, he loves the main character of like every series ever. And so he's very much like, and I'll tell him, like, okay, well, Rayland broke the law here, 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 and here. And it's like,
That's better.
yeah, like how, and he's like, oh, well, he's doing it for this specific reason. And I'm like, okay, but Boyd's doing that for this specific reason. And you don't have to agree with his line of thinking because you are right. He is this criminal who's like selling drugs and stuff like that. But you can't then, I mean, he's gonna say he's gonna feel whatever he wants to feel, like whatever. But it's like these are the arguments that's very interesting. And I feel like you bring up House of Dragon and Daemon Targaryen like right now. And I know this of our podcast is gonna like drop, I would say, what, like 3 or 4 weeks from now. So by this point, the House of Dragon will be over. But it's like Daemon Targaryen's character is just going through this like, he started off season 1 as this kind, he was a dick, like let's be honest, like he was, an asshole, he was arrogant, he was the rebel prince, like he did a lot of shitty things. And it feels like season 2 now he has to atone for those things because he's going mentally like crazy. And it's like he's going through all of this guilt and stuff. And I could understand that maybe they want to layer him a little bit, but part of me was kind of like, you can feel guilty and still keep the man, like, I don't know how to explain it, like just not crying in the bed, like whatever. Like I just feel like they're tearing down his character by going after that physical strength and that brute force and everything. And I just don't necessarily like that. And it's like I sometimes don't think characters always need to be redeemed. I think that's what we talk about when it comes to Barb, right? It's like we don't want her to want to be redeemed. We want her to be like, I knew exactly what I was doing. I did it for this specific reason and I'm not going to say sorry for it, you know?
Right? I want her to be unapologetically badass. And
Yeah.
like I want to see that played out on the screen. I think that would be a genuinely beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah. So, speaking of Barb, are we ready to dive into this episode?
We are.
Okay, so episode 7, the radio. And so I feel like this is where everything gets to it's the transition from the black moment over to the climax. Like we haven't quite hit the climax yet. It's that in between, that reaction to that black moment. So do you want to start us off, Chelsea?
Whew. Yes, I was just rewatching before the episode. Sorry. Whew, my afternoon beds make me sleepy. But gosh, I'm just so hung up on on Thaddeus in this episode and like
I love
unwittingly
Thaddeus.
becoming a ghoul. I just
And how he finds out, which we will
baby.
talk about, like,
Gosh.
why am I
Like what
not dead?
the number one thing that is like vibrating in my brain is is Thaddeus in this episode. But there's a lot of other meat in the episode that we need to get to with, opening it with Lucy and Vault 4 and,
Oh, no,
thinking
no.
things.
Remember, Eric Estrada, we got to touch base on him
Yeah,
because
yeah.
my husband was very excited seeing Eric Estrada. He loves him. Okay, so obviously they're lead farming. is what we find out. Eric Estrada and his son.
I love that they think that Cooper is eating the daughter.
Oh my gosh, and he doesn't help it. He's like, he literally opens his
Really
mouth
with him.
so wide and takes this big chunk, this big bite. And I just thought that was really funny. And then we hear that Adam, Eric Estrada's character, or Cooper says something like, I bet I still have some of your lead in me. So we know that the relationship between, or the history is contentious. Like Adam, like at least tried to kill him or shot at him. And then we find out that Adam has 3 kids. Right. And the oldest is gone with that crazy woman up the hill or something like that, which is Moldaver. And I love what Cooper says, something about like a whole new team of believers with their dumbass ideas on how they're going to save the world. And I feel like that was a big callback to Max's line when they were at Shady Sands, and how like, oh, everybody
like the world, they just can't agree on how to do it. Yeah,
exactly. And then so both of the sons kind of get mixed up with Moldaver. We don't know that Tommy, which is the middle son, which is the one with Adam right now, or Eric Estrada doesn't realize that his son is mixed up until basically Cooper calls him out on it. Go ahead.
I shouldn't have been as amused as I was by the whole him pulling out the letter with the bullet hole blown through it and like
looking through the bullet hole. Like
I giggled, and like it shouldn't be as funny as it is, but it really kind of is.
It really is. I thought that was hilarious. Okay, but we learned some really, really important information here, that Tommy was supposed to pick up Dr. Wilsick in Philly and transport him to Moldaver. And I loved that because we obviously got a little bit of it in episode 2, but we didn't know the information and it didn't feel relevant. Right. But that doctor.
Well, maybe Tommy didn't know that because Cooper.
Right, exactly. And so we learned that Dr. Wilsick was an Enclave defector. And so the Enclave is where the scientists are. And I'm curious.
Let's be clear.
Yes, exactly.
I'm mad about them throwing the puppy in the furnace. Like, I will be mad about it till I die.
I think you're supposed to be mad about it. Do you think that he defected because of CX-404?
Like, I think that's a heavy influence, but I think he was gonna defect anyway because, you know, he was working on the cold fusion device. He makes Moldaver's cold fusion device happen, injects himself with it, and then I think he leaves sooner than he intended to because they discovered CX-404.
Yeah. And then so Tommy basically tells him like, okay, she's at the observatory. And then this is very interesting, and I love this because especially to everyone who talks about the ghoul as, you know, this bad character, and he gives Tommy a chance. He's basically like, you're not gonna draw on me, right? And you know, Tommy doesn't say anything, but his dad's like, he won't. And he's like, well, maybe not right now, but how do I know you're not gonna come for me? And Tommy makes the dumbass decision to fucking try to fire on him. And so
that was a big fucking mistake. Let's be clear. Why can my glasses not stay up on my face? Sorry, y'all.
And then so the ghoul fires back, and you know, obviously I think he kills him, right? Yeah, so I mean,
our boy doesn't miss.
Yeah, no, he does not. And so like the ghoul did not fire first, and I think that that's really important. Like he gave the chance, and I honestly feel like you can see kind of a very quick flash of regret on his face, like before he leaves the house. And then we get a flashback. So we get a flashback of Moldaver and her communist meeting, quote unquote.
Right. And Cooper's not very receptive at first.
No. And you know what's interesting is that I feel like this is another instance of a woman gaslighting him, because he basically is like, I can't really sit around here to listen to any more of this horse shit or something like that. And she says, I'm surprised that America's favorite gunslinger was so sensitive. And I'm just like, wait, so he's not allowed to have his own feelings. Like
Right.
you're
She knew
taking,
exactly which button she was pushing when she
oh
said,
yeah. Well, and it's like she's taking his masculinity, like being a gunslinger. There's a reason why she said that, and then called him sensitive. And it's sort of like this is exactly what women have to deal with in terms of like, oh, we're too emotional, we're too sensitive or whatever. And she kind of throws it back on him. And I loved it because he's basically like, okay, well, you're kind of a rich millionaire making money off of this, and they kind of have this back and forth where, to be fair, both of them are making really decent points. I just didn't like the fact that she kind of had to gaslight him in order to do it because he does not do the same thing to
right.
her. Yeah.
He took the high road
Yeah,
in
he
this,
did.
let's be honest. And I don't love that she took the low road.
No.
But like again, I love that they're highlighting this because I don't think that it gets really talked enough about in media that like yeah, we talk all the time about men gaslighting women,
Mhm.
but I'll, not a lot of people talk about the other way around and women gaslighting men, but it happens.
Well, especially since I feel, without trying to stereotype, I feel like women are better at reading people than men. And so we know exactly, like you said, the buttons to press. So we know how to gaslight and how to manipulate a situation without it coming out like that's what we're doing. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's so easy to fall back on, oh, I'm a woman. So you can't, like, it's different when it happens to me versus you. And I don't think that that's necessarily fair all the time.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I love that Cooper's all like a good bad guy doesn't see themselves as the bad guy. And I feel like that is like a huge thing because right now we don't really have, besides I would say Lucy, we don't have heroes or villains. We just have like these morally gray characters in this wasteland, in the vaults, everywhere. And Lucy is kind of this pure, I would say, very heroic character.
Yeah.
And so Moldaver has a very interesting history because Vault-Tec basically bought uh Vault-Tec bought what could potentially end the war, which was the cold fusion and the infinite energy. And
Right.
then they refused to use it because they don't want.
Doesn't make money, they can't profit off of it, so why would they put it out?
Exactly. And then so that's when she gives him a bug so he can spy on his wife. And I love that she, before all of this, she's like, I know your wife. I know a side of her you don't. And it almost called back to when she's talking to Lucy in episode 1, like, you look just like your mother. And it's
Right.
like that hint of it. And I mean, if I'm Cooper,
Again,
wait, say that again.
it's the mirroring again
Oh, yeah.
between Cooper and Lucy.
Between Moldaver knowing probably the most important person in their life, which is
Right.
which
Better
is
than they do.
exactly. And I think that that's really interesting. And so the history with Barb is that Barb's not Vault-Tec, but Barb's section in Vault-Tec, I guess, acquired
Vision.
Moldaver's. Yeah, the division, yeah. And Moldaver's company or whatever, they were researching things that were difficult to monetize, like cold fusion and infinite energy. So Vault-Tec bought every single company she's ever worked for. And Cooper calls her out. Well, doesn't that make you like a rich millionaire or a communist millionaire or whatever, he says. And so yeah, so she gives him that bug and it's like clear, like he's like, I'm not gonna spy on my wife. And I love that she's all like, I'm not a communist. That's just a dirty word people use to describe people who they think are insane or something. And I think that that's like very poignant, whether it's like in the show, because anyone can relate to it. Like sometimes we're all afraid of being called a name. And so it's like we kind of
Right.
comply. Um, but yeah, I really liked that exchange between the two of them. And yeah, I just love that. But now we're back at Vault 4. So go ahead, Chelsea.
I like I just like Lucy thinks that she knows so much about this situation. And
No.
she's like so self-righteous and it's so adorable. And then they have to like burst her bubble and show her the scientists that did the commercial with Cooper
Yes.
for Vault 4 and like show shit going sideways for them because, and like the beginning of the revolt of the people they were experimenting on, because their experiments were, let's be honest, unethical.
Oh yeah, I mean the guy in the video, the holotape, even says it's unregulated scientists. So these scientists didn't have to worry about ethical considerations at all. They just did whatever they did. And what I find really interesting that Fallout does is it uses its humor to sort of almost mask really important information. So it's like when the guy is talking, when the scientist is talking, he's talking about what it's like something hybridiz what does he say? Something about humans with radioactive resistant species.
Hybridizing humans with
Yes.
radioactive resistant
And it
species.
still has potential. And so like, but then you kind of almost lose that piece of information when the tape stops and you have like the overseer Ben say something like, that was my great uncle, whatever. And
Yeah,
so
the
it's,
creature in the video was my great uncle Peter or something like that.
yeah. And so it's like, it's hard to like focus on what's important and what's funny, which I think is really, really like like good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So hybridizing humans with radioactive resistance is that a ghoul?
I think that they're like is related to ghouls, but it's definitely the gulper. Like they created the gulper and
Yeah,
they're it's a radioactive resistant species.
that's true.
And it's like that's where the fingers in the mouth
Yeah.
came from. That's hybridizing people with a
Oh,
radioactive.
other things. Yeah. Um, okay. So then, uh, so what's the experiment in Vault 33? And Lucy's like, there's no
There's no
experiment.
experiment. Oh,
Yeah.
sweetie. Oh, sweetie. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, like, Lucy is not learning her lesson here. Like, again, it's like she doesn't even consider the possibility that there might be an experiment that she doesn't know about, even after
Right? Like
everything.
there is no experiment, baby. Baby,
Yeah,
sweet. Okay.
I know. Um, And so I love when they kind of take her away. She's like, but I'm a good person. And it's sort of like, this is Cooper's lessons to her. It's like, that doesn't matter. Like in the wasteland, even in Vault 4, like it doesn't matter what you are. That's not going to get you out of things. And that's not going to help you when you need to find this information, you know?
Right.
I love that it flashes to Max and he's just enjoying his popcorn, like living his best life.
Can I just say, like, random side note, but like the waterfall on the video in that scene when he's eating his popcorn before they bring Lucy across with the bag over her head looks like the waterfall at the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. Like, I was there year
Oh,
before last, and like that looks like, which is, like quintessential Americana.
right.
And like, it looks a whole lot like it. I'd be interested to know what waterfall that actually is because it looks so much like that.
Oh yeah. I think that's great. I love that. Um, and I love that if that is the case, it is like you said, quintessential Americana. It's like water, something fresh. It's not this dry, wasteland of nothingness. Um, But it's like then we see Lucy being dragged, and it's like it's almost like he forgot she was even missing.
Right? And I love how he has to get like his last bite of popcorn before he like goes to her rescue.
Well, he looks down at the popcorn like, do I really have to leave? Like he hesitates. It's almost like I don't know about like you guys, but like when my kid asks me for their third snack, like that's the face I make when I have to get up to go get my kid another snack. It's not like, oh shit, the person that I'm supposed to be like helping is being dragged away screaming. Like, I'm just like, what kind of reaction is this, Max? Like,
Right.
anyway.
It's like it's very interesting. And like I feel in my bones like had Cooper and Lucy been in this situation instead of Max and Lucy, Cooper's reaction would have been entirely different.
I don't think he would choose to let her out of his sight, to be
I
honest.
don't think he would either. I
Yeah,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. That would not happen.
yeah.
And
Okay.
he's not going to be charmed by anything in the vault, first of all, because like his whole long ass history with this shit, but like the oysters, champagne, whatever, like it's none of that's going to mean shit to him.
No, and no, absolutely not. And then we get back to your boy at the Red Rocket. We have Thaddeus and the dog. Um,
And his
it's
poor mangled
I was
foot.
literally saying
Left
he takes it off.
him.
It's so disgusting.
Like,
Yeah, he
oh,
licks it. The dog licks it. And he's like, hey, that's mine. That's not yours.
wait, that's my foot. It's not food. I love that moment.
Oh, Thaddeus. But oh my
And I
gosh.
love the little rant that Thaddeus has at CX404. Like, if
Yes.
you're human, you wouldn't have any friends. And just like lists off all of these qualities that sound like Cooper to me in my head. And I'm like, that is Cooper's dog. I'm sorry. Like, Cooper can say, I'm sorry, dog meat, you, but you ain't him. All he wants, like,
We
they are
all know that
destined to
that's
be a family.
it's found family. Oh my gosh. But I love it because it's like, okay. And I wanted to really look for these moments, especially with Thaddeus, who potentially Max and Thaddeus have the same kind of background because I think Thaddeus even says, I used to be bullied and then Max came and then I started bullying him. But I'm like, look at the little things that Thaddeus does that makes us like squeal for him. Like he puts the dog in the Nuka-Cola bin, but it's like he doesn't kill the dog. He could have, but he doesn't.
And then he
And
checks to make sure that
it
the
was
dog can
breathing.
breathe.
Yes. And it's like, I love that about him. Like he can be like a dick to other people, but it's like I still like him as a character. And part of that I get is the acting, but it's little things like that where it's like he opens it, but can you breathe in there? Look, you have a little hole. Like just little things like that where it's like I love that for him, you know? Um, and then we go back to Vault 4, and Lucy is literally tied up, almost gladiator style, with like the little background of people like cheering. I love this scene so much.
Me too. Like, there's so much build up, and it's like, we sentence you to death by banishment to the surface. And I'm just like cackling.
He takes the knife that looks like some like crazy ass sword, and it's like he
Gotta
can't even.
crawl with it. He has to ask somebody to sharpen it.
Oh my gosh! And everyone cheers when it's like, oh, we're gonna send you up to the surface, and it's like that he just won some like gladiator battle, and she's
Right?
like, wait, what? And then I love this because again, this goes back to Lucy and her kind heart. She asks if Max can stay behind.
Right. That was so sweet. And then Max has to go and put his foot in it.
But the thing
Trying
is,
to save the damsel in distress.
what's interesting for me is that like she and I don't know if this is to her character or if it's because between her and Max there's no stakes, but it feels like it was easy for her to ask the vault to take Max in. Like she didn't even consider, oh, I'm going to miss him. And I know that this is part of her selflessness, but at the same time, I just feel like it's like
It's
Max.
not that easy to give up a companion if they're really a good companion.
Yeah, or even like this is the same person she wanted to have sex with, you know, like this is the same person that like, you know, and we'll talk about it when it happens, but like that she's going to invite to live with her in her vault. And I'm like, how was it so like you don't even hesitate? And part of me is like, okay, that's very consistent with your character. But that also tells me that Max isn't going to help you change or make you think about things or tempt you. And I feel very much that with her attachment to Cooper, like because Cooper and Lucy, if we are lucky that they get to stick together all the way to New Vegas, where they're either seeing Barb or Hank, where it's like they are now going to be put in a position of, are we sticking together or are you going with your family? And they could ask each other that. And I feel like that would make Lucy question. I don't think she's gonna, like I said, I don't think after everything she's gonna want to even go back into the vault.
Right.
And so yeah, so I just thought it was really interesting that like she doesn't hesitate. She asks if Max can stay. And then Max decides to steal the fusion core and just ruins everything. And I feel like, okay, his intentions are good. He wants to rescue Lucy, but he has all of this power in the suit. I don't think he needs to go over and start throwing people. Like, he could probably just ask them to stop, and unless they attacked him, like, he could have just waited. Like,
Right.
which completely contrasts with what Cooper did. Cooper, like, gave the warning, waited, and the guy tried to draw first, and that's when Cooper attacked. Whereas Max, like, he doesn't even check to see what's going on. He just jumps in, starts pushing people. And I know that one started running up to him, but you're still in armor, and this guy's like no weapons on him at
Yeah,
all.
weapons, no armor, like no real way to defend himself from you at all.
Right.
Is a severe power imbalance.
Exactly. So anyway, so they leave Vault 4. Um, and then this is a very interesting conversation. So the fusion core. Chelsea, what are your takes on this scene?
Literally, if Lucy had not been there to tell him to give it back, he would have taken that fusion core and just bounced.
Yeah.
Like, he would have been gone. He would not have thought twice about how taking the fusion core would affect everyone in that vault. Like, it would have been like, no dice, I'm taking it. Like, I want to be a knight. This is what I want to do. They're gonna have to figure their shit out for themselves because I'm gonna go do what I want to do.
Well, and I think that that's like so important is he literally says, I want to be a knight. Like, that is what makes him a knight. Like, the armor is what makes him a knight. And Lucy's like, you can't be a knight if you steal things. Whereas
Right.
she's like looking at it more metaphorically. And this is why I think that Lucy is so blinded by this little, she's projecting so much of what she wants Max to be that she can't see him for what he
Yeah, he's
actually is.
actually behaving. Yes, exactly.
Uh,
And like, also, I need to give myself a little slap on the wrist for calling her sweetie and baby with the shit because, you know, like, I'm almost infantilizing her a little bit with like her refusal to see Max for what he is, but you know, she's not unintelligent and she's not stupid. She's just like, she so desperately wants him to be a good guy that she refuses to believe that he's not.
well, she even says, like, you're a good guy. Well, and I love that he counters this with, but I can help people with the armor. Um, and he asks a really fair question. He's all like, you know, if having the fusion core is the only way you would ever get to see your dad, would you give it back to them? And the way that she responds, she doesn't even hesitate. She's all like, well, if her dad found out that she destroyed an entire community to save him, that would break his heart. And so I really
Oh,
liked that.
ironic.
I know. and and again, it's almost a setup, right? Like,
Right.
for the next episode. But she's thinking how it's going to affect other people, how her behavior is going to affect somebody else. It's going to affect her dad. It's going to affect this community that she feels so tied to and maybe to a degree responsible for because they're all vaults, you know? And I feel like that was a very fair question. So again, like you said, he gives up the fusion core, and I'm like, no, it's only because she told him to. Like, that's it. And that's when, you know, she invites him to live with her in her vault. Um, and she says something like, Titus is the best stranger that she's ever met. And I'm like, well, that's not really saying much. Like, how many strangers have you met? So, and she says, you're a good person. And that is when this is the first time. Hang on. Is this the part where no, not yet. Okay, so then he finally tells her the truth about like his name. He confesses about everything because he knows deep down he's not a good person, and it makes him really uncomfortable that she thinks that he is. And
Right.
I feel like this is such a good moment because Max wanted that sort of glory and affection and admiration, not only from Lucy, but from everyone outside of Lucy. And now that he has it, he feels
It's
guilty.
not well with him.
Exactly. And again, that's what makes him so complex, which I love. But the thing that pisses me off with Lucy is she's justifying it. And she's saying something like, oh, well, I threw acid on some guy's face. The wastelands kind of suck. But I'm like, okay, well, there's a difference between someone literally attacking you and the stuff that Max had done. Like, I don't know. Like,
Them as attacking her, though. They weren't actually attacking her. They were just trying to stop her from potentially awakening any of the people that had been experimented upon that were in those cryo chambers, though.
oh, that's true. That's true. Um, and so like but I just am like she's so quick to see the best in him instead of like stopping and thinking about, okay, he's been lying to you for how long? He's, lied about his name, he stole things, he did all of this stuff, and you're just gonna keep, justifying it, and she's still inviting him to live with her in her vault. And I'm just like, okay. Okay, Lucy. Like we'll go with that, sure. Like let's just fuck it.
I think you're right. Like, it's a desperation to believe that he's good, and more than that, a desperation to believe that Cooper is wrong
Yeah.
about something.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm sure me and you have anyone who has a significant other or partner, like sometimes we don't want to hear points. We just want our husbands to be wrong so bad that it takes us 2 days to sit down and be like, oh, God, fuck it, he's right. So
Yeah, I have a lot of rage about the number of times that Lake has been right about so many things, and I'm just like, I love you, I adore you, I literally worship the ground you walk on. Like, you've heard me talk about this man. But like, do you have to be fucking right about everything all the time? Like, do you have to? Can I just like get one win anywhere in this
anywhere.
conversation at
Yeah.
all? Like, do you have to be right about everything? It drives me up the fucking wall. But at the same time, like, it's kind of awesome being married to someone that is that competent, you know?
No, absolutely. 100%. Okay, so we're back with Thaddeus. He's listening to a radio with some fiddle music.
Precious. I'm just gonna say that listening to a fiddle like makes my heart happy. My grandfather was a fiddler who played with Hank Williams from time to time because they were related through my grandmother distantly.
That's
It's
awesome.
that's a whole like rabbit hole. But Hank Williams actually begged, well, not my grandfather, my great grandfather begged my great grandfather to play with him in his band and travel with him, and my great grandfather wouldn't do it because he didn't feel like he could leave the farm and leave his girls alone there.
That's cute. I love that.
So
Um,
make me
and
happy.
then we see the chicken fucker ready to blow his brains out.
Right. And that was such a heavy moment for a second. And then he like sees his salvation and he like gets so excited. And like,
But why do you think he wanted to do that? Like out of all times, like what
right. I
like
have so many questions
and then
on.
why does Thaddeus save him? How does Thaddeus walking by do it?
I think it's like, okay, here's somebody that I can fleece out of some money. Maybe I can make enough to keep surviving and get somewhere else where I can peddle my wares, and maybe life won't suck so hard that I want to blow my fucking brains out.
Yeah.
If I can just sell this precious idiot some chems.
Yeah. Um, I love the dialogue here. Um, how he approaches Thaddeus and he's like, I'm a doctor. He's like, sit down, get your like tattered tootsie or something like that when he's
So adorable and hilarious. Like, it made me giggle down to my bones.
and I love when the doctor's all like, that's the sound of your intestines falling the fuck out or falling right the
Right
fuck
the
out.
fuck out. Like, I giggled so hard. Like he was genuinely quite funny.
Yeah, oh my gosh. And again, this is the payoff of the setup of the chicken fucker from episode 2, episode 1 or something like that.
Like
And this is
the fuck back.
yeah, and this is significant. And again, it's another setup and payoff because when Thaddeus takes the fusion core in episode 5 and we don't see Thaddeus in episode 6, well, guess what? This is how he's going to pay for, you know, the whole like foot healing thing.
Right. And I love how like it just never occurs to him that like this is a ghoulification in process happening right now.
No. And
But
then
it's just what so
oh yeah, and so Shady Sands, like Shady Sands is radioactive as hell, and the ghoul, like the chicken fucker, looks at him and is like, "Oh, you don't have to worry about that, buddy boy."
that was so great. Like I love all of his lines. He's
Yes.
so sassy and funny, and I love that. I'm here for that energy. He was delightful.
Well, and he's like a great like minor. He's not even a side character. He's such a minor character who can play such a impactful role on your characters or your storyline. And
Right.
if you set it up, like if you plan for this, like this is what you can achieve. And okay, I completely missed it even the second time around, but the way that Thaddeus takes the medicine, is it the same way that the ghoul takes his chems? Like,
I think so.
that's really interesting. So, like, is it the same medicine?
I don't know. I don't like
Okay.
I didn't feel like the color was exact.
Yeah, I don't think the chems, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
But like that might just be me being nitpicky. I don't know.
No,
It
I
might be
agree. Like
like
it didn't it
in the scene, but it didn't look exactly the same.
yeah, I agree with you. Okay. And then and this is almost like Thaddeus being like Lucy. Like he's not gonna question anything. Like he's just gonna be
Right.
like, my foot's
Oh, that
better.
fixed it. Yay.
Yeah.
All about my business.
Um, so then we get to our Vaulties and they are doing their repopulation efforts by sending some people into Vault 32.
Can we
Um,
talk about how fucking thrilled Steph is to find out that she's gonna be the temporary overseer
but
of
do you
all
think she
32?
knew? Do you think she knew beforehand? Or do you think that
I
she
think
was,
she's the only other person from 31 there right
yeah,
now. So I think
yeah,
she had to know that was coming. But she's just like
100%.
so stoked and so ecstatic. And I love how disappointed Norm is in Chet.
Oh
But
my
also
gosh, yes.
how fucking done Chet is
Oh
when he
yes, I
talk
put
about
that
we
in my
need this
notes.
business.
Yeah.
He's just like, I don't give a shit. This is a great time for a fresh start. Mind my fucking business and go on about my day.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So the Raiders are dead. They're all dead. And Betty says, "Oh, it's rat poison." And she almost insinuates that Norm not did it, but
But
inspired
caused it.
someone. Yeah.
Right? And like I still think that Betty is the one that rat poisoned them. Like no
Well,
one will
yeah.
ever convince me otherwise. Like I know we've been over this, but I just had to say it again. Like
Well, and I'm wondering why, especially with the what Norm came out already, why didn't Betty assume it was Norm? Like, why did they arrest the girl, the poor Jello cake girl, who like she's like, I would never do something like that.
I
Like,
think Betty like knows it's not Norm, and like she used the poor Jello cake girl to show Norm
mm-hmm,
that's what I'll fucking do to you if you want to make too much noise.
yeah. And I
I will
also
frame
think
your ass.
I think that Norm being Hank's son, it might not also be a good look to like arrest the overseer after like all of the overseer's only kid
Right.
after all of that shit happened
Calm down, right? But I think that
to.
was a warning to Norm.
Oh yeah,
You see what I just fucking did? I'll do it to you unless you sit down and shut the fuck up.
yeah. And then so yeah, so then they talk about their reassignments, and then again Norm goes to check on Chet, and Chet gets assigned at 32. And you can see on Chet's face, like he wants to forget everything. Like he wants no part of this little
That
Scooby-Doo
man is
stuff.
give me a fucking drink. I am done. Like, but also bless Chet, the amount of rage I got on his behalf when Steph is like, I'm holding the baby, so you have to pack everything. Like, bitch, what?
Yeah.
Excuse me? No, the fuck. No, that's not how any of this works. Not in my house, ho. You
Yeah.
put the baby in a fucking crib and help that man. Like, I will fight her. I will
Wasn't
throw
she putting
chairs.
ice on her crotch? Like, wasn't she putting
Yeah,
ice?
she was icing her crotch. So apparently they've been, well, like I had to ice mine quite a bit because, stitches
I
and,
was gonna say, why are you doing that? You have 6 weeks, Steph. Take the 6 weeks. Like, anyway, I
right,
don't.
right.
Um,
My icing that area down there was because snipping and stitches and
yeah.
things like that. But oh God, never again. Never again. Mm-mm.
And then I love that Norm calls Chet a coward, but I love what Chet comes back with. And he's like, everyone is a coward. It's why we live in a vault. Like,
Yep,
I
that was
loved that.
like
And I
the
think that even Norm,
quote, like Chet really took that moment and dropped a big dick on that room.
yeah,
Like that was such a like dick slap moment there for Norm because like yeah, they are kind
like
of like
I think that made Norm actually like pause for a second and be like, you're right. I think that
you
potentially
could
that
see him like
inspires
roll
Norm.
back on his heels a little bit and be like, oh
Yeah,
shit, that's a whole point that never even occurred to me before this moment.
yeah. And then we get the ghoul. Awesome. He tracks. I love how they show what a badass tracker he is. Even if it's disgusting that he's licking up Thaddeus's blood off the floor,
Right.
but still. And I love that he takes the dog out. And again, it's that setup because it's like we already know Cooper loves dogs and he needs this dog to get the head. So you're just kind of like, Coop, you know what's gonna happen. Like, come on now. Like, um, so yeah, so then we get a flashback, and I love this. Like Cooper's just like smoking a pipe, like Roosevelt's on his lap, just chilling. Um, and then I
He tests
feel
out the listening device and then he feels bad. He feels bad.
yes.
He's like, no, no, I'm not gonna go there.
I love it because like, okay, you can see, and this is Walton just being a fucking genius.
That
Like
man is brilliant.
you can see the inner conflict that he has. And I feel like just this quiet moment with his dog, reading a paper, normal life, is what makes him be like, what the fuck are they saying? Like, what is she up to? Like, and so it's like he puts the thing in the pet boy, and then that's when Barb's like, oh, I got some hot chocolate, 3 hot chocolates. I'm like, oh, you are domestic? Because before you were like, I need to work all the time. Anyway, that's just me being a petty bitch. But they get some hot chocolate with, I guess Cooper doesn't like marshmallows because Barb tells Janie, you can scoop the marshmallows off of mine if you want. And I'm like, you know what? I don't like marshmallows on my hot chocolate either, Cooper. Good job. But then he, like you said, he hesitates. He like pulls out and
The
I
listening
feel,
device and tests it out. And then he feels so guilty for even thinking about it.
yeah,
And Roosevelt whines and he's like, no, you're right, Roosevelt. So he's projecting his own morality onto Roosevelt there for a second. And he like throws the listening device in the garbage. But then
his
later that
commercial.
night,
Mm-hmm.
his commercial is on TV with the scientists from Vault 4, and like you can see it eating at him. And like, I love that as he's digging through the garbage can and finding the listening device, he's muttering like to himself and to Roosevelt, no dogs in the vaults, huh? And like, I
What
just
a
know,
petty bitch. That
I
was Lee
love it.
Russell right there. Like,
That was like, I just know in my soul that Barb is the one that made that rule because she doesn't like Roosevelt.
well, we never see her interact with Roosevelt. We see Janie interact with Roosevelt. We see Coop interact with Roosevelt, but we don't see Barb interact with Roosevelt.
Right. And like well, we know she doesn't like Roosevelt because she called the damn dog an avoidable inefficiency and like, excuse you?
Right.
Like I have big feelings about that. I'm an animal person. I've always been an animal person. Like you take that avoidable inefficiency and shove it right up your ass.
Yeah.
Like my dog would come in the vault with me or I'd just stay above ground and get irradiated.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
is what it is.
And then so I loved that sort of inner conflict with him because it's like he wants to believe in his wife. But I feel like Moldaver's speech really got to him in terms of like, did you sell out your principles? How much money did you sell out your principles for? Because that was his argument about why he couldn't be in this meeting anymore. Oh, I just have principles. And I just thought that the dog was like the last straw for him. But I think
Right.
that especially watching himself sell these vaults, he needed to know, like, what am I responsible for? Because it's like he's selling a product, and people trust him. He's America's favorite gunslinger.
Right.
So I really like that, he's trying to do the right thing. And then we get a flashback, or we go back to the ghoul, and CX-404's head is literally the same way that Roosevelt's was when, they were on the couch together. I loved that. And what
That
does he
was
say, Chelsea?
sorry, dog meat, but you ain't him.
Oh, but we all know. We all know this is the start of a found family. Like, come on,
Good.
Cooper. Like, this is probably the first dog you've seen in how long that like doesn't have two heads or something. Like, come on.
Right, and that dog like adores the shit out of him.
I
Already. Like the look.
know. I
Ugh.
know. And that's how you know he's like a good person. Like I feel like
Animals can
animals.
tell.
Hmm.
Animals can tell, and like I so badly want to see dog meat and Max meet each
Yes.
other because
Yes.
like I want to see how dog meat reacts to Max and how that plays into my Max as a villain theory. Because like I just want to see Erin Moten be a bad bitch. I think it would be so beautiful.
Oh my gosh. So then Thaddeus gets to the radio tower and they talk about music. I love our little DJ.
He was
Talking about it was so funny. And then the booby traps, holy shit. I was like,
incredible.
damn.
Like that is some skills.
But again, you have that little tiny setup because we're gonna need it in a couple of minutes. And then Lucy and Max come. Like they just
Right?
decide to
And
start
as a gamer, can I just talk about how much I love that Thaddeus can't shoot for shit without a scope?
without a scope, yes. And then he trips a wire, and then what what happens?
He just shot through his poor little chicken neck. An arrow.
And he said something like what did he say? Something like, what just happened? And
Right?
yeah.
And I love how stunned everybody is. Everybody's just like, what the fuck?
Oh my gosh. Okay, and then I love that like Lucy's like, "Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you." And he's like, "I'm not gonna leave it in."
There. And then I love Lucy's reaction as he's pulling the arrow out. She's just like, oh. That
And
was priceless to me.
he
It was
sells it with his face too. Like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. And then he's like, we see him healing. And then
right.
so we kind of know shit's going. And he's like, I should have never trusted a doctor that smells like that. It's like, oh,
It's funny, and I love that Maximus is the one that's like, Thaddeus, I think you might be a
you go.
ghoul.
He's like,
And Thaddeus
oh
is just like, oh, fuck.
yeah. Oh, and then so the Brotherhood comes. And I don't understand, even after her conversation with Max, that Lucy's like, oh, the Brotherhood, they're the good guys, right? Like, I thought it was like, you and Max had this conversation, girl. You were calling out the bullshit that the Brotherhood was doing. You should know better at this point.
I can we talk about the kiss with the two
Oh, the two heads?
heads there? And like I don't remember who said it on Twitter. I'm wanting to say it was Lena, but the whole kiss of death thing, and like my sincere hope that that is the kiss of death on the relationship between Max and Lucy.
Well, yeah. And speaking of that, so what I really, really loved is that, so obviously Max Max is gonna tell Thaddeus, here, go ahead, I'll slow him down, so you can get away. But obviously this is only because Thaddeus is doing something for him, which is giving him the head. And obviously he wants to take the head to the Brotherhood. And so I love that Thaddeus is like, oh, you would really do that for me. And he like quickly apologizes. And I feel like there's so much sincerity in that. Like, even though it's like kind of rushed or whatever, like Thaddeus doesn't have to apologize if he doesn't want to. But then Max doesn't respond to the, oh, would you really do that for me? He just, just give me the head. But this moment is so, I think that this is the start of Max's villain origin story, because Max does something good that isn't going to help him in the long run. He takes a fake head and gives Lucy the real one, allowing Lucy to go and find her dad. And Lucy, I think Max says something like, I'll wait for you. Or she tells him, I'll wait for you. And I feel, I just put LOL because we know that's not going to happen. But I feel like this is the first time that Max has put someone before him, and it's going to bite him in the ass because she's not going to wait for him. And I feel like when he realizes that, that's going to kick off that villain arc. I feel like, because
the world is going to start in earnest.
Yes, because if you think about it, this is the first time Max isn't hesitating. He's not thinking about how is this going to benefit myself. He's not doing any of that. If anything, he's putting himself at risk by taking sort of like this fake head to the Brotherhood. And it's just like, this is the first time. And it comes from, I think, Lucy having so much faith in him that he does want to live up to that. Because at this point, Max has made bad decisions, but he's not a bad person yet. He does the right thing for selfish reasons. And I just feel that this is the one action in the entire show that we've seen where there's no glory for
selfish motivation.
Exactly. And so
it's gonna bite him in the ass harder than anything else ever has.
And I feel like that's gonna make him realize, I can't trust anyone, especially not Lucy. So now I'm going to do everything in my power to get his revenge or whatever it is. And then we have our last scene, which is the Balties. They're moving into 32. And it's interesting because we see Vault Security when, gosh, what's his name when he doesn't want to move in? Do you remember his name? Was it Woody? Is that Woody?
I think that's Woody.
Okay.
I don't live here.
Huh?
No, I don't live there.
I know, I don't live there. And he's like, I'm sorry. And he goes back to, but I'm just like, okay, what would have happened if Woody didn't back down? Because you see the Vault Security, and I don't think we've seen Vault Security before. I mean, in Vault 33, I should say. And so I'm like, would they have just put him like in a jail until he's complied with moving to Vault 32? Like, I'm curious because we already know they're not going to kill or use violence unless Betty's able to say, well, now we have to, because I don't know. And so I thought that was interesting. And then Chelsea's girl gets named interim overseer.
Yep.
And I love the look.
The look on her face was just absolutely genius. Like, that was so well done.
And I love the look on Norm's face. I feel like he gives Chet a look like, dude, you know this is so sketchy as fuck. And Chet's like, I
don't care.
I don't give a shit. Like
he is not subscribed to the Scooby-Doo gang anymore.
No.
He's done.
He's done. And then we see Norm rush off and start sending messages to Vault 31.
Right.
Which I thought was so good. And when the overseer of Vault 31 is like, are you compromised? And I feel like that was like I was like, wow, that's a big deal. And I feel like Norm's I feel like his arc is when Chet said we're all cowards. I think that really hit him because he didn't realize it, and I feel like this is now him being brave. Like, he is going to Vault 31 to see what the fuck's going on over there.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on the episode, Chelsea?
I really love this episode, and like it's a great build and
Mhm.
such good momentum leading into the next episode. I loved everything about it, and I'm so ready to do episode 8 and to do individual character breakdowns
Oh
also.
yeah. By the way, guys, we're gonna be doing character breakdowns after we finish up episodes because we can't seem to stop talking about Fallout.
Like I'm sorry, I live here now.
Yeah.
Where I live, Fallout and Ghoulsea are my home. And I'm gonna obsess about it for however long. And yeah, like we will talk about other shows and other things like that, but I'm gonna continue to obsess about Fallout and Ghoulsea for however long the show runs, and then probably a long time after that too.
Well, we're definitely going to be doing a podcast episode, I think the week before the Emmys, to talk about how important it is that they win all the Emmys, especially Goggins, because for reasons.
I
Um,
so wish that Ella and Aaron had gotten noms
oh
too,
yeah.
but like, please, Lord, let Goggins win. That man deserves all the flowers. He's been working so hard for so long, and like, it would be so fantastic to see him win.
I would
Like,
love that.
he doesn't. Like, let's just be real.
Um, so yeah, I like you said, I think this episode was so what I love about it, what I love about this show, and this is kind of rare at times because the writing is so good and because all of the characters are so good, even if Lucy and Cooper aren't on screen together, I'm not mad. Like, I enjoy the show. I'm a fan of the show as the show, and I get excited about like the potential of Woolsey. But it's like I just love it so much, and just all of the setups, the payoffs, even the pacing. We can learn so much for just plotting our own books and stuff. And I think that I mean, I love episode 8. I love how it ends for obvious reasons. Um, Let me ask you a question, Chelsea. The episode today was the radio. What significance do you think the radio had besides the fiddle music?
Well, radioing the Brotherhood about the head
Hmm.
and all of that, and like bringing them to where Moldaver is for
Hmm.
all of the shit that's about to go down.
Yeah.
And there's possibly other significance also. I feel like that's really super layered and super nuanced, and we can pull a lot from that. And like just talking about the music choices, I feel like we could do an episode on each of the songs that they chose.
And the scenes where they
The
play the
show and
songs.
scenes where they
Yeah.
played the songs and break those down, because the music has been absolutely genius. And like, can I just say how much I love getting to see like my grandfather's music, because this is the stuff that my papa loved to listen to,
Hmm.
and getting to see it used in a show that I love and adore.
Yeah.
And like, honest to God, I really think that my papa would have loved Fallout, because we have cowboy vibes, we've
Yep.
got war, we've got all of these like big questions, but like, honest to God, I think my papa would have loved Cooper
Yeah.
more than anything else. And then, you have music in it too. It's just a whole vibe for me. Genuinely love it. And the music choices have been just fantastic.
Agreed. So I guess what that means, guys, is I hope you're not sick of us talking about Fallout because we're going to be doing so much talking about Fallout.
The yapping will be unending, guys. Like,
Yeah.
it's not going away. But y'all love Goosey. That's because of the guy, the overseer from Vault 4 that
Yeah.
calls Lucy Goosey. That's why that just happened. But you guys love Goolsey. We love Goolsey. We love Fallout in general. And like, there's just too much to work with here for us to only do 8 episodes on it. Let's be honest. And we're just going to sit here and work to keep the fandom alive between now and season 2.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like that's our jobs. This is why we were made to do this podcast, is just to keep everyone excited until season 2. And that's what we're going to be doing. What should they comment with, Chelsea?
Let's see. Do you guys think that Steph knew she was going to be made overseer of Vault 32 or not, and why?
Yeah, let's comment below. Let's clown with us in the comments. And we will be back next week with episode 8, which is the beginning of what, I wonder?
We'll see. Fingers crossed.
I know. All right, bye guys.
Bye.